The year's 1865, and if you were alive in America at that time, you wouldn't just be tired, you would be exhausted in a way that goes deeper than the body, the kind of exhaustion that settles into your bones and refuses to leave. Because for 4 long years, the country had been tearing itself apart in a war unlike anything it had ever seen. The Civil War, brother against brother, father against son. A nation divided over a question so brutal, so fundamental, it still echoes today. Can one human being own another? And the cost of that question was unimaginable. Hundreds of thousands dead, entire towns hollowed out, families shattered by letters that arrived without warning and changed everything. America wasn't just wounded, it was broken, completely and deeply broken. And then in April of 1865, something happened, something people had almost stopped believing in. The war ended. General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant at a quiet courthouse in Appomattox. And just like that, after years of blood and loss, the fighting stopped. Across the North, the reaction was overwhelming. Church bells rang without pause. Crowds filled the streets. Strangers embraced each other like family. Grown men cried openly because finally, after everything, it was over. After years of darkness, there was light again. And at the center of it all stood Abraham Lincoln. Not the statue, not the symbol, but the real man. 56 years old and looking far older, his face carved by years of impossible decisions, sleepless nights, the weight of every soldier who never came home. He wasn't distant from the suffering, he carried it every single day. And yet somehow he had done the impossible. He had held the country together. He had ended slavery. And now he wanted something even harder. Peace. Not revenge, not punishment, but healing. With malice toward none, with charity for all. That was his vision. And for the first time in years, it felt like maybe that future was possible. And then came the night of April 14th, 1865. Lincoln decided to go to the theater, just for a few hours, to escape, to breathe. He went to Ford's Theater to watch a comedy, and for a little while he was just a man again. Not a president, not a symbol, just human. But at that same time, in the same city, another man was moving towards something far darker. John Wilkes Booth, a famous actor, admired, recognized, successful, a man who had everything except peace in his own mind, because he was consumed by anger, by belief, by hate. He thought Lincoln had destroyed the country. At first, he planned to kidnap him, but when the South lost the war, that plan died, and something darker took its place. If he couldn't save the Confederacy, he would avenge it. That night, Booth walked into Ford's Theater like he had done many times before. He knew the building, the layout, the timing. He knew exactly where Lincoln would be sitting, and more importantly, he knew when the audience would laugh. Inside the theater, the mood was light. Laughter filled the room. Hope had returned. Lincoln sat in the presidential box, smiling, holding his wife's hand. For a few hours, the weight of the world had lifted. And then everything changed. Lincoln's bodyguard wasn't there. Just a small mistake, a small moment that changed history forever. Booth walked quietly to the door, waited for the loudest laugh, then stepped inside, raised a small pistol, and fired. 1 second, Lincoln was alive. The next, he was gone. Chaos erupted. Screams filled the theater. Panic spread instantly. Booth jumped to the stage, injured his leg, but escaped into the night. For a moment, people didn't understand what had happened, but then reality hit. Lincoln was carried across the street to a small room. Doctors gathered, but they already knew. There was nothing they could do. Through the night, powerful men stood in silence, watching, waiting, hoping. At 7:22 in the morning, April 15th, 1865, Lincoln died. And when the news spread, it hit the country like a wave. Days earlier, people were celebrating. Now they were silent. Shops closed, flags lowered, a nation grieving once again. But the real loss went beyond one man. Lincoln had a vision, a path forward, a chance to heal. And with him gone, that vision faded. Andrew Johnson took power, and everything changed. The country struggled. Laws were passed that kept freedom limited. Violence returned. Hope faded. and what followed was not healing, but a long, painful chapter of injustice. Booth believed he was saving the South, but he had done the opposite. He had removed the one man who might have changed everything. For 12 days he ran, until he was found, cornered, and killed. But it didn't undo the damage, because one bullet had already changed history. Lincoln's body was carried across America. Millions stood in silence, saying goodbye. And even today, that moment still echoes in every debate, in every struggle for justice, in every question about what a nation should be. Because the night of April 14th, 1865 wasn't just the end of a life. It was the moment history turned, the moment everything changed, the night that changed America forever.